Hi everyone, it's Ness. I like to talk about books. If you're new here, hi, how are you? Introduce yourself below. Let's get chatting. It's the end of June, but at the end of May there was the Do The Thing-a-thon, and I did a TBR video for it and explained that I wanted to reread 4 of my favourite books from years ago where I just hadn't carried on with the series, so I felt like I needed to revisit book 1 so that I knew what was going on so that I could progress with the series. And it was really going to be a question of, did I like it again upon rereading it? If not, I was just going to get rid of the whole series, or if I did, I was going to continue on with it. Now, this is late because the footage that I filmed in that week for like the read and vlog has corrupted. I'm so mad. I don't even know if this is going to work. I'm just up to here with this technology thing right now. So instead of like a read and vlog, you're just getting like a Do The Thing-a-thon wrap up. So I will just go ahead and say that I intended to read 4 books, but I only read 3 of them. So the one that I didn't read is... I don't know where it's gone. Oh bugger. Okay, I've lost it anyway. So it was These Broken Stars, and the reason I didn't get around to reading that one is because I was running out of time for the week, but also I felt like that was the one that I knew the most about, or I could remember the most about, so I could continue on with the full series. I knew what the full plot of that one was and how that one ended, so I knew I was going to run out of time, and that is the one that I chose to kick to the curb. So in this wrap up I am going to be mostly talking about the 3 that I genuinely could not remember anything about necessarily, and that's in Ember and Ashes, Rebel of the Sands, and The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. So I'm just going to start off with The Long Way, because I feel like that's the one that I have the least amount to say about. So my initial rating of this when I read this a few years ago was 4 stars. When I was reading this, I was reading it like, oh my god, this one is so much better than what I remember it being. This is definitely like a 5-star read, but it was when I got to the last quarter of the book, which is why I remembered why I rated it 4 stars in the first place. So The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet is a book about a crew on a spaceship that's digging a hyper tunnel thing. They're tunneling. I don't know what that means. They're tunneling, guys. They are going from one point of space to another point of space and creating a tunnel so that it's quicker to go from that point to that point. So they're tunneling through war-torn space. So you would expect this book to be full of drama and action and more, but actually this book is absolutely nothing like that at all. This is essentially about the characters and the characters only, not necessarily what goes on outside of the bubble that they live in. They're full of personality. The crew is made up of different species, they're not all human, and it's about how they relate to each other and what we might perceive alien species being like and how they live, because obviously they have different morals and way of living and different functions than what a human would have. And it's also about looking at them through a human lens as well. This is an adult book. If you're picking this up thinking that you're going to get like a space drama, you definitely aren't going to get that. And I think the first time I read it, I did fall a little bit guilty of that, of thinking I was going to get something that I necessarily didn't. But this book is so well written. The characters just come to life. It's like you're placed inside the spacecraft in the future with a bunch of species, and it just feels so normal. This is definitely like the best glimpse that I've had or been given in a book of experience something totally different to my human experience, and I really loved it for that. The reason why I dropped this down from 5 stars to 4 stars was because I felt like the ending was a little bit dragged out and anticlimactic, and I know probably the point of it being anticlimactic was that we're looking at a snapshot of lives at a certain time and their lives will continue on after this point, but this is a book that I was reading for my enjoyment, so I just felt like the ending fell a little flat. But I still absolutely would 100% recommend this book. I know that this book can be read as a standalone and book 2 can be read as a standalone. The series is just kind of brought together by the themes of the novels, not necessarily by the characters. I will continue on with this series and I'm happy to have it. I would definitely give this a 3rd read as well. So the next book I'm going to talk about is Rebel of the Sands. This is a young adult book and I could remember the overall theme about it about it like being in the desert and there being genies and there being a rebellion, but a kid just screamed outside and I got the fright of my life. Oh my god, shut up kids. Woo! So yeah, now the child has passed the road, not literally. I couldn't remember the finer details of this novel and what happens in the middle. I'd also forgot how great the main character was and how good and well written the characters are. So the main character is Amani, and she is living in this desert town. She's an orphan and she has this like skill of being a sharpshooter. Anything she wants to hit with this gun, she can. And she meets this stranger who comes to her town in the desert, thinks that this is her ticket out of this town. Amani definitely does not let people walk all over her. She is one of the strongest female characters that I have ever read in a book. She's very witty and she knows her own self-worth. And they were all things that I'd sadly forgotten. It's such a short read. It is a very quick read. I read this in like 2 days. But it definitely packs a punch. The rebellion side of it is something that's a common theme in young adult, but in this it's done very, very well and so unique. About midway through the book we are introduced to genies, and this book has created such a great mythology for itself to draw on that it helps the story get woven into this fantastic, unique way. Some of it was like kind of predictable, but I mean, that's not necessarily a critique from me. Some other things that I did find were quite shocking and quite like revealing. But if you're looking for like a fun young adult read, I would recommend this one. I think I rated this 4 stars as well. I can't remember if it was 4 or 5, but whatever it was, it retained its original rating from the first time that I read it, which I was quite surprised about because my reading taste has changed quite significantly since I read this book. I think it might be like 3 or 4 years ago now. I said in my TBR video that I didn't realise this was a trilogy, and I did go out and actually purchase book 3 after reading this one because I do now intend to finish the series in full. I'm just going to show you book 3 because it's gorgeous. This is like the 3rd book. Isn't that just stunning? I don't know if this is the UK cover because I've seen a different cover of this. I'm assuming it must be the American, and I didn't like it as much as this one, but these are just my favourite colours, like gold and red. Oh, when this got delivered, I'm telling you, I was so pleased that I picked this one back up. Glad I picked it back up, and I would give this a 3rd read. But moving on to this book, honestly, just looking at it, it just fills me with something. Anyway, it's an Ember and Ashes, and this is a book that I've read in full one time a couple of years ago, and then I've tried to reread it in bits over the years, but never sat down and reread it in full. If I had to say what my favourite young adult book was, it would 100%, absolutely without a doubt, be this beauty. I'd forgotten how much I love this book, and I don't know if this is a testament to my bad memory, you know, maybe I should go and see someone about this, because I could not remember a lot of the surprises in this book. I didn't remember like the relations, I didn't remember like whole characters. Reading this at the end of May was like reading this for the first time. Considering this is my favourite book and I bang on about how this is my favourite, this book just left my mind. So yeah, my reread of this totally blew me away. This book has like my favourite tropes, like enemies to lovers, love triangles, evil parent, trials, and it is just honestly a work of art. We have 2 main characters. We have Leah, I think it's Leah, and Elias. And Leah is orphaned. She's living with her brother and her grandparents, and one night someone called a Mask, which is like very strong soldier with magical abilities, they're like rare assassins in this world. One night a Mask comes and kills her family and takes her brother. She is able to escape and seeks out this rebellion to help her break her brother out of prison. The rebellion wants to go up against the Empire, and part of the Empire's structure is Blackcliff Academy, and that's where they train the best of the military to defend the Empire. So you've got like these 2 sides. So you've got like Elias, who is a soldier in this military academy for the Empire, and you've got Leah, who is relying on the rebellion or the resistance to get her brother out of prison. Although Elias deep down is a complex soul and he does not want to be part of this military academy, and he has plans to escape himself, although he gets like caught up in these trials and it's so exciting. I love the side characters as well. There is some strong female characters in this. There's also some really like evil, morally grey characters. Oh, this is something else. For like how short this book is, so much happens. Oh my god. This is definitely one of the best books I've ever read. This is a standout for me. If you haven't read it, please, 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 please read this book. I can't believe I just didn't pick up book 2. I am honestly so surprised that I've never ever just sat down and picked up book 2. Part of me is now kind of like scared to pick up book 2 though, because I love this one so much and I don't want the series to be ruined for me. I get like that sometimes. But yeah, I wish I could show you the footage of me actually reading this, because I was just in awe, enamoured with this author's writing. The writing is so good. This book is so much fun. I just can't keep banging on about it. It is just fun. It's just everything that I want in a young adult book. If I'd read this book before the other two, I think I would have had a worse reading experience. I'm pleased I left this one till the end. Easiest 5 stars I've ever given a book in my life. Great reread. Would reread this again. I would actually, if I could only read one book again for the rest of my life, it would be this one, without a doubt. So yeah, that was me rereading my favourite books from a few years ago to see whether I still like them and want to continue on with the series. Yes, I love them all just as much as what I enjoyed them a few years ago, which is surprising because I feel like my reading taste has changed quite dramatically in that time, although obviously these are just great books that stand the test of time. They're well written in that sense, so I would highly recommend all 3. And I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!